Alright, let's start this run. So, firstly, there's a cutscene in the beginning that you just gotta mash through. It's no big deal. But here's the tutorial. It's pretty great.
Hello, Tack. My name's Flora.
Technically, if you pause on the very first possible frame,
It's a long road ahead.
like right at the end of that loading screen, it's possible to like save a minute here, and I'll explain that in a little bit.
Move yourself around by using
But
the aim stick, and if you
this tutorial is basically,
it's pressing the jump button.
I only have to do this tutorial for like a minute,
Double jump.
because
I like to think of myself as thorough.
coming up pretty quick here is a cutscene that I can do some pretty fun stuff with. Firstly, I just gotta skip that cutscene up. Oh, gotta skip this cutscene up here by clipping through this gate. It's pretty neat. And then I'm just gonna pause right there and save. And saving here is kind of important because actually, if I were to unpause right now, a cutscene would start. And normally you can't save during cutscenes. However, if you pause when you trigger a cutscene, it's a bit different. It'll actually cause that cutscene to become skipped when you reload. And also, with a couple of cutscenes in particular, a pretty interesting effect happens. You'll see in a second, but Tack basically no longer collides with anything except the ground. So I can pretty much just skip the entire tutorial. So that's pretty cool, I'd say. As I was saying earlier, if I managed to pause on the first possible frame of the game, I could skip that, like I could skip the entire tutorial, not just the first like minute. Or, well, I could skip that first minute as well as the rest of the tutorial, so it would save a little bit more time. But normally if I were to do that, that would just, I'd have to reset like 5 or 6 times in order to get the frame perfect trick. So that's not really worth going for in a no reset run. Right there, I just climbed up that tree, and it might look like that was pretty simple to do, but that actually skipped like the first 2 levels of the game. You're not supposed to climb up that tree, but if you walk along a very precise like line of pixels, you can jump up it no problem and skip the first 2 levels, which we'll have to end up going back to anyways, but it's faster to do this level first. As you can see, I lost like 45 seconds there because I didn't get the frame perfect trick, but that's no big deal. That's not worth resetting for. So here's Dry Rock Canyon. This is supposed to be one of the last levels you go to in this first section of the game. But there's a ram here, by the way. They're pretty cool. This is a plant. You need to kill 9 of these in the game. Alright, nice. I actually got a quick kill there. These first 2 plants have these vines that swing around them, and if you can manage to knock out a third of their health before they start taunting at you, you can actually kill them about 10 seconds faster than you normally would. And these first 2 plants have the vines that swing around them. The other plants actually don't have vines, so getting that quick kill is actually a lot easier on the rest of the plants, which is nice. It's like, it's 100% consistent on the rest of the plants. With the first 2 plants, though, it's possible that they'll do an attack that pushes you away from them, and if that happens, you can't get the quick kill anymore, because you just can't knock their health down in time before the vines come out. So, coming up here is the second plant. These plants go down pretty quickly. This first section of the game really isn't that long. Oh, he punched me. Okay, he did the attack, so I can't get the quick kill on this one. It's not a big deal, though. I just have to wait for an extra cycle. It only loses like 10 seconds. Excuse me. These plant fights are not hard, though. Other than like the luck factor of getting pushed away, they're not hard fights. You pretty much just sit here and do nothing while you wait for them to taunt. And they actually taunt on a there's an audio cue for when they're about to taunt, so it's not random or anything. It's complete. You can tell when they're gonna taunt. I should mention, usually you're gonna see me doing these like things where I'll start diving and then I'll jump out of them. The reason I'm doing that is it's actually just a fraction of a second faster than just running normally. And it's actually not intended at all. It's not an intended mechanic to be able to do that. What I'm doing is basically abusing a mechanic where if you fall off of a ledge, it's possible to jump again immediately after falling, and I'm guessing that's to prevent casual players from just accidentally walking off a ledge and dying. So I can actually abuse that by jumping out of a roll right away, and it actually gives me a little bit extra speed. Now obviously the fastest way to just be to straight up roll. That's the fastest method of moving around. But that kind of locks you in a straightforward position. Also, that wall's cool. You can just kind of walk through it and fall out of bounds. No big deal. And now I'm just going to swim to this teleporter, which will bring me back to the beginning of the level. But as I was saying, normally a roll would be the fastest method of transportation. However, there's a lot, like, the rolls lock you, into a straightforward roll. Like, you can't turn whenever you're rolling. So if you're about to run into an object or something, it's better to just do a triple jump instead of a roll, so that you can move around the object. It's pretty weird at first, but it's definitely an interesting mechanic. I mean, it's not an intended mechanic at all, but it's interesting to do. Oh my god, that was cool. That was a good use of time right there. I don't know how I managed to fall off that. Alright, let's keep going. Oh. Yeah, like right... Oh my god. Right there, I just did a straight roll instead of jumping out of it, and I kinda got punished for it. So it's definitely a mechanic you have to be constantly keeping in your mind. Another mechanic you have to be constantly aware of is nurbles. If you let a nurble hit you, you're gonna get stunned for like a good second. And you can't move during that second, and you're also not invincible during that second. So if you get hit by a nurble, and another nurble comes and hits you while you're stunned, you can't do anything about it, and you're just gonna take more damage and continue to be stunned for even longer. It's a really awful game design mechanic. And it makes it so you can just get stun locked to death if there's a ton of nurbles. So it's really important to not get hit by a nurble. Like, just don't get hit by any. Also, right here, we're kind of supposed to do like a thing where you go and collect a bunch of stuff, a bunch of teeth. But if I do a triple jump right here, it's a pretty precise jump. You can actually skip that entire section and it saves like 5 minutes. That was one of the first things I ever found in this game. Yeah, like right there I got hit by a nurble and it stopped me for a second. Being able to dodge nurbles actually takes a lot of practice, and I sometimes make it look pretty easy, but it's actually a really hard thing to do. Because you really have to know the mechanics. That's a full health feather, I kind of want that. Dying isn't really that fun. Alright. But yeah, I should mention, each of these levels has 3 plants in it. And there's actually 12 plants in total, but we only need 9 of them in order to progress. So we're actually going to be skipping one of the levels that have plants in them. We'll go to it later on, but we don't need to go there for plants. So this first like 20 minutes of the game is just running around and getting these 9 plants. And it might look like I'm kind of wasting time on these plant fights, like I'm just sitting around not doing anything. like right here, just kind of running around. This is actually the fastest I can possibly kill these plants, because even though you could technically just stand right next to the plants and continuously hit them until their health goes down to 0, they actually won't die. The plants will only die if you hit them while they're taunting. So I actually am killing them in the fastest possible way. Right here is it's the longest cutscene in the game. It's at like 2 minutes, I think. It's a nice kind of break point at the beginning of the run. This is actually the cutscene that gives you the staff, which the staff lets you jump higher, it does more damage to enemies, and later on you can use it as a blowgun to hit stuff that's far away. It's technically possible to beat the game without getting the staff, which you just would not go and watch this cutscene. But it's a lot slower because there's stuff that you just need the staff for, unless you want to spend a lot of time going around. This is actually one of my favorite cutscenes of the game too. I love the Mummy King. He's pretty cool.
Me? Oh, I'm not the great warrior. That's Locke's job. I'm just
Basically, the entire plot of this game is that this evil shaman named Tlaylock went and turned the entire village into sheep, and there's this prophecy that says this will happen, and this warrior will save everyone and it'll be all great, you know. But the problem is, this warrior that's been trained has also been turned into a sheep. And so, it's up to Tak to try to restore this warrior, whose name is Locke. He's trying to restore Locke into a human again so that Locke can save everyone. And, spoiler alert, as Tak goes through the game, Locke continuously becomes more and more useless. And Tak actually becomes the one who saves everyone, and whoa, spoilers, I know, I'm sorry. But yeah, basically, the entire game is just Tak running around collecting a bunch of stuff to help Locke, when in reality, all he's doing is just preparing himself to save everyone. It's a pretty weird story. Right there, that Nurble almost made me fall off, but yeah, I'm not going to use the staff that much at all for combat, because it does more damage, yeah, but it swings a lot, it swings a lot slower. And actually, it doesn't do any more damage against these plants, so it's actually faster to just use the club on these guys. And also, when you swing with a staff, you actually step forward a little bit each time. With the club, you don't, so it's just a lot easier to use the club on the plants.
Okay, that's all the plants here. We should try somewhere else now.
So that's 6 out of the 9 plants that we need. And we're going to use this warp pad to actually warp back to Tak's village, instead of going all the way back to the entrance of the level. So now we're going to head over to Lower Tree Village. Lower Tree Village, you know, just kind of the same as the previous 2 levels. Just going there to get some plants. This little barrier here is actually supposed to prevent you from getting here without the staff, because you're supposed to need the staff to be able to jump that high. But an interesting thing is that you actually can make that jump without the staff. So, I mean, they didn't really do a good job of programming that.
I don't know, you might already know this, but this elevator
As Flora was trying to say, this elevator takes us to Lower Tree Village. That was a nice voice crack, by the way. Puberty is pretty sick, even though I'm not going through it anymore.
It looks like all the tree villagers are
Anyways.
turning into sheep as well. Hey, Tak, look.
So yeah, here's a bunch of sheep. These are supposedly the villagers of Lower Tree Village. I don't know why Tak is just putting them on treadmills and making them open doors. Seems pretty cruel, but, you know, Tak does what he does.
Hey, what if you jump on this motor to see what it does?
Flora wants us to jump on that motor, but why would we do that? We could just use this sheep. So in here is actually where we get the acorns to use our blowgun.
There's a bag of everlasting acorns over there.
And this lets us shoot the blowgun at stuff far away, such as this sheep,
Awesome. Now your staff can work as a blowgun.
which lets us open that door.
Acorns to hit things that are far away. Remember, if you want to switch between your club and the yikes, a Nurble nest. Smash it, Tackle. We'll be fighting Nurbles all day.
So Lower Tree Village has a lot of puzzles in it. I'm probably not going to be explaining any of them as I do them, because it would either just take too much time to explain them, or I'm not doing them in the intended way at all. And so explaining them would be kind of pointless, because especially once I get to a later level called Upper Tree Village, I'm going to be doing a lot of puzzles really quickly, the completely unintentional way, so there's really not much point explaining them. So here's the last section of plants. Again, still pretty straightforward. Just wait for them to taunt, hit them, run up and hit their vines. Wait for them to taunt again. And they're dead.
Cha-ching.
So this next plant's actually on a platform that's raised a little bit higher than that you can actually jump. Right there's an example of getting stun locked to death. But we can actually abuse the checkpoint system by jumping into that wall. Oh, I missed by a little bit. And if we hit this wall just right, we'll actually trigger the checkpoint. Excuse me? That should be good. There we go. I don't know why that took so long. But now we're up here. So we actually, like, the checkpoint, the trigger for getting the checkpoint actually extends a little bit below that platform. So you can actually hit that and then you respawn up here. It only saves like 10 seconds of walking around the tree. But, you know, time save is time save.
Rock on!
Now, I'm going to go up here and actually activate the warp point for this level. But I'm not going to warp out just yet because there's still another plant left. But I'm going to activate this warp point so that I can come back here much quicker later on. All I gotta do to activate them is just to touch them. Oh, that was weird. I got stuck on some collision. Coming up here is a pretty cool trick.
When in doubt, take the stick out.
Whoop. Doing that just kind of skips having to walk around the tree. It saves like a whopping 1 second. It's pretty good. Right here, you kind of have to jump around some pretty wonky collision.
It looks like the orangutan is
Right here is a pretty complicated trick.
this can help us.
Firstly, I have to zoom in on that staff the frame that I land on the melon in order to get a trick called item storage, and then I can just fly like that. Although the flying is much more complex and difficult than I just made it look. You actually... this is such a pain to explain that trick, but the first thing I did called item storage, I have to zoom in on the same frame, zoom in with the staff on the same frame that I picked the item up, and that puts Tack into like a kind of Schrodinger's effect state thing, where he's both holding the item and not holding the item.
Get back to Jabalba's hut.
And what that does is it lets Tack throw the item, but since he's not actually throwing the item, he never loses it, so he can just continually throw the item as many times as he wants. And the reason we want that effect is because anytime that you press jump and you throw an item on the exact same frame, the game doesn't register that you lost your double jump. So with infinite throwing, if you jump and throw on the same frame over and over again, you can actually jump as many times as you want without falling. It's a really interesting trick that saves a lot of time throughout the run. Oh, fell off that. The only problem with that trick is it's pretty much like a double frame perfect trick. Not only do you have to hit A and B on the exact same frame every single jump, you also have to press them for only one frame. If you hold A or B for longer than a frame, it doesn't work and you just fall. And if you mess up any input, then you'll just fall and you have to start all over. So it's a really precise trick. It's not easy to do at all. If it were more precise, or if it were more consistent rather, we could actually use it to skip a lot more stuff, and it would save probably over half an hour throughout the entire run. But the problem is it just isn't consistent enough to do that. So we can really only use it to jump up like sort of tall jumps. It's not, I mean, it's still, don't get me wrong, it's still extremely useful, but the preciseness of it means that it's not as useful as it could be. It still saves like another half an hour still, but it could save a lot more time if it were more consistent. But anyways, we're not going to do that again for a while. It'll come back later in the run. Right here is actually the first pins and needles boss fight. There's 4 of these throughout the entire game. Each of them kind of has a weird mechanic to it. This one in particular, they have to pick up these magical ball things and throw it at them, and that'll cause their head to get a little bit bigger each time. And you gotta hit each of them 3 times. Whoops. Kinda messed up my path a little bit. Oh, and I missed that one too. The camera angle on this fight makes it a bit strange.
You beat pins and needles. Now you can get the mighty spirit rattle. Wow, you got it.
And now we have the spirit rattle, and this lets us enter the second stage of the game. This stage is all about collecting 100 Yorbles and Locke's spirit. Because, you know, we have to I guess Locke's dead or something, we have to resurrect him. So now we can see these blue orb things called Yorbles.
Whoever possesses the spirit rattle, I think
And we need to get 100 of these throughout the game. So here's the first one.
yeah, check it out. A Yorble. We need to get
It's pretty neat.
for Jabulba.
They're pretty common throughout the game. I know it might sound like 100's a lot, but they're fairly common, and since I know where all of them are, obviously it doesn't take that much time to get them. But another thing you can do in this section of the game is stuff called summoning Jujus with Tikis. And we're going to be doing that pretty quickly here. Oh, yeah, this path that you have to jump up is pretty precise. Not getting it for some reason here. Okay, I don't know what's taking me so long. There we go. So over here is a Tiki. Need to bring this to a shrine, and that'll summon a magical Juju spirit to help us. And we want to get that one in particular, because that lets us go to a level called Numa Dunes, which gives us a mana power-up called Crazy Feet, which lets us run fast. Which, if you can imagine, in a speedrun, running fast is pretty important. Ah, I missed that. This is a Juju power-up called Mana Magnet. This makes it so that all these feathers and stuff will just automatically come towards us.
Mana magnet allows you
Which, as you can imagine,
without having to run
pretty useful. Because I should mention that using that Crazy Feet Juju power-up, it burns 1 mana per second. So having a lot of mana is useful. And right here, I'm actually going to make a save. I am going to save the game here, because Tak is about to show off a very special power that he has, where he can just teleport. It's a pretty awesome trick. It's pretty good, pretty powerful ability that he has. But the problem is, if he doesn't do it perfectly right, he'll actually just destroy the world and the game will crash. So it's important that that doesn't happen. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna call this Tiki guy, and Tack just teleports across the world. So that's pretty neat, I'd say. If you want to know what actually happened there, alright. What actually happened is that normally when you put that Tiki down, it'll start a cutscene, which is about a minute long. And when the cutscene's over, Tack gets moved over to that other section that I was at. But if you manipulate that Nurble in a very specific way, by hitting it and then placing the Tiki in like a certain spot, it'll actually just skip the cutscene entirely for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And it took a really long time to figure out what caused it. But hey, it works now, so you know, may as well do it. And I made that safety save just in case the game were to crash, because if you don't do that exactly perfectly, the game will crash. Which, as you can imagine, not the best thing to happen. So I just take like the extra 10 seconds to make a save file just in case. Because obviously crashing at this point in the game, not ideal. So here we are in Numa Dunes. It's like a sandboarding level. It's pretty cool. We're just going to get a couple Yorbles here, and then we're going to get the Juju power-up Crazy Feet. So Crazy Feet's just over here. Here it is. Now we're returning to village because now we have Crazy Feet. And so Crazy Feet lets us run really fast, which, if you can imagine, is helpful in the speedrun. So now I have to like hold X down for the entire rest of the game. So I get to do like a cool claw grip on the controller. It kind of hurts after a while, but you know. Now I'm actually going to warp back to that Lower Tree Village warp that I activated earlier. And now we're just going to go through the levels that we just did, but we're going to go through them and get all the Yorbles. Coming up is actually a series of Yorbles that I've named Thomas, because in the past they've given me a lot of trouble. These Yorbles are not easy to collect in one go, so I've given this a name. Nice. I got all three of them in one go. That's really hard to do, because these vine physics are not very good. So being able to get all three of those Yorbles in one go is really nice. But yeah, we're just kind of going through an abbreviated version of all these levels, just running straight through and getting all these Yorbles. And routing out the fastest path to get all of these Yorbles is not an easy task. The route for this game is constantly changing because there's like small efficiencies found in the path between these Yorbles, and like just recently the entire route was completely changed just to save like a minute or so in like Yorble routing. Nice gold. Now we're actually moving on to a new level called Upper Tree Village. We were just in Lower Tree Village, now we're in Upper Tree Village. It's basically like Lower Tree Village 2, technically. There's just a lot more Yorbles and a lot more puzzles. This is actually where the return of throw hovering happens, though. Because we're going to run over here and get a melon, so that we can get item storage off of it. And we're going to use this throw hovering to skip a ton of puzzles. You gotta get item storage by doing that. Now, we're gonna throw hover up this wall. Like I said, if you ever drop a single input, you just fall back down to the ground, so it's not an easy task. Although I've gotten a lot better at it over the years. By years, I mean over the year. This trick was, I don't remember when it was found, but it was probably about a year ago. Oh, I almost made that. That would have been cool. I clipped out of bounds there on accident. That was cool. That would not have been good if I would have fallen through. But yeah, as you can imagine, being able to fly like this saves a lot of time. It basically skips having to do all of these puzzles.
Oh, rats. If you only had a sheep here.
Another thing to note, anytime if you're holding an item and you grab a ledge or you fall too fast, you'll actually drop the item. But when you have this item storage effect, you actually don't, because you're not really holding the item, so you can't drop it. However, if you roll, then you will drop the item, so... Whoops. If you shoot the orangutans with your staff while you're on the leaf like that, it'll actually manipulate them to pull the tree down right away. There's lots of really small optimizations like that throughout the game. Right here, just for the fun of it, I get a type of glitch called Infinite Sword Glitch, which, if you're a fan of the Zelda games, you're probably familiar with that. It's not nearly as useful in this game as it is in like Ocarina of Time or something, because in those games, Infinite Sword Glitch makes it so you can just be constantly hitting enemies with your sword. In this game, you can hit each item or each enemy and object once, and then you don't hit it anymore. So it's not useful at all. It's just a fun little trick to do, though. Oh, rope physics are not the best in this game, I will admit that. It takes a lot of practice to get used to how rope physics work. But yeah, just going through Upper Tree Village, getting as many Yorbles as efficiently as possible. This next section is just kind of like the main area of the game where there's like, I mean, it's not, no. Okay, scratch what I just said. It is not the main area of the game, but it is like it is a large section of this level. There's just a huge condensement. Is that a word? There's a lot of puzzles in a really small space here, and so that means there's a lot of Yorbles in a really small space. And so this is like heaven for speedrunners, because we can just hover all over the place and get all of these Yorbles. Just skipping all of these puzzles. This is a nice area. I should note, it is important that I don't waste my mana, because there will be a section in the game where I will be at 0 mana. Like, the mana optimization has gotten really precise lately, so I need to be careful about my mana use. You can probably see 2 Yorbles here. I'm actually going to skip both of them, because it just takes too much time to get them. Oh, come on. Ah, that should have been it. Come on, Tack, you can do it. There we go. I don't know why that took so long. There's actually a Tiki. We're actually not gonna get that Tiki.
This tiki will let us summon a juju.
Flora thinks we got the Tiki, but we actually didn't. We're just gonna skip watching that cutscene, because that cutscene's really long too. And the thing it gives us is not worth the amount of time that it takes. So let's just clip through that right there. And then watching the cutscene would get rid of this, but we can just jump right over it.
Wow, it's a blimp. Oh, you know, I bet this can take us to another land.
And that was Upper Tree Village. Next is one of my favorite levels in this game, honestly. It's called Mountaintop. This level looks really cool and it's really fun. There's lots of tricks in it.
You know, Mountaintop is home to lots of
And actually,
you can see why they like it.
this level is one of the
Oops.
is the entrance to one of the last levels in the game that you're not supposed to be able to get to until you've gotten all the Yorbles. However, it's actually possible to clip into the trigger to load that area, and so we're actually going to do that to be as efficient as possible. We're just going to clip inside of one of the last levels of the game. But we're not going to do that just yet. First we're going to get some Yorbles. Right there I did a trick called the Rhino Crash Canceling. It saved like 2 seconds. Normally when you run into that, like Tack gets slammed into the wall and he has to recover and then you can keep going. But if you jump off right at the perfect time, you can actually skip that animation. Right here we're actually going to make a pretty tight jump around this corner to get this Yorble. And now, actually first,
More of those fire coconuts.
gonna get that Yorble. And now we're just gonna jump into this wall. It's kind of a common theme with this game. And run under here and into this loading zone. And now we're in Mountaintop North, which is one of the last levels of the game, but
Clock has turned this entire
it doesn't really matter because we still have to get all the Yorbles anyways.
doesn't want us to get the moonstone.
We're just here because it's more efficient to come here now.
Coming from up there.
And also, this game actually has 200 Yorbles, and you only need 100. That's just for like 100%ing the game. And it puts some of the Yorbles into the last levels just for the heck of it. But we can actually make use of that
Really useful juju spell you just
and get them while we're here.
summon a melon anytime you need one.
And I just got the Summon Melon Juju power-up, which lets me summon a melon whenever I want. So now I can get item storage whenever I want. If I could actually do the trick. There we go. So now I can actually throw hover anytime I need to. And I almost made that jump without falling, which would have been cool, but I can still get up this wall. There we go. And here's actually the next Pins and Needles boss fight. This one is a pretty fun one.
Ooh, looks like pins and needles are challenging you to a sacred dance ritual to win the
A
moonstone.
sacred dance ritual.
And you should be fine.
Wonder what this could be.
The trick is to touch the glowing stones. That will make the dance pad move towards
So like I said, the Pins and Needles boss fight usually have some weird mechanics. This one is no different. It's basically just DDR.
Ready, set, go!
Yep, this is the boss fight. This boss fight is basically just a 2-minute long auto-scroller. That's really the gist of it. It's like, if you fail this boss fight, you did something wrong. Like, there should never be an instance where you fail this boss fight.
Nice! Sweet moves! You are ready to
Like, the groovin' music here almost makes up for the fact that it's a 2-minute long auto-scroller.
solid. Fire away!
Got him.
That's what we need. More combos. Styling. Ooh, call him Mr. Combo. Okay, it's time to pick up the tempo, Tack.
It's time to pick up the tempo.
Yaha, you're making it look easy.
I mean, there's not much to say about this level, or this fight. It's just so grooving, you know? And it might look like I was like, ooh, I'm falling behind, oh no, I might not win. No, like, even that part's basically scripted. Like, you can't go any faster than I'm going. It's scripted, so you just barely pull ahead right at the end. I'm almost there.
Oh, you're making it look easy. Ooh, who's the man with the moving feet and the grooving hands? Tack! Oh yeah.
And now here's a moonstone. You're supposed to get these way at the end of the game, and you only need 3 of them. But as I've said a lot of times before, we're getting it now for efficiency. Alright. Now it's time to go back, get more Yorbles, you know? Rinse and repeat. This time we're going to be going to Dry Rock, though. We've already been to Dry Rock before, but now we're going to go back and get some Yorbles. And we're actually going to go to a different level inside Dry Rock called Dry Rock Caverns. And that level, the only thing in that level is Yorbles. There's just a lot of Yorbles in there, so it's a good place to go. There's another Yorble hiding there. Just gonna jump down there. There's some nice stun locking for you. Alright, so Dry Rock 2, not much different. We're actually pretty much going to follow the same path until we get about halfway into the level. And then we're going to clip into an area called Dry Rock Caverns, as I said before. We could just like go in the normal way, but then we'd have to watch another Tiki cutscene. So nobody wants that. And actually right here, we're going to jump down this hole. Oh, I missed the mana. Or I missed the power up. Oh, I missed it again. I'm good. Alright, let's line this up. There we go.
You just found a longer life, Juju.
That's called Longer Life.
Battle the Nurbles longer before needing to be healed.
That gives us more health, which is going to be very useful for the Sun Temple. Because the Sun Temple has a lot of combat in it. And the combat's not the greatest in this game. So, being able to not die is a very useful ability to have. So now we're going to get this Yorble up here. And then, we're going to just clip into this wall here. And now we're in Dry Rock Caverns. This level is very difficult.
Jack, I've watched Lock train here before.
It's basically like a challenge level almost.
Careful.
It's pitch black except for this light,
You have to follow them through these caves. Don't get too
and there's lots of enemies everywhere. And the platforms are very like spread apart and weird. This is not an easy level to do. Just like that, I just got sniped out of the air and there really wasn't much I could do about it.
Oh, no. I guess we need more practice.
There's a Yorble back there if you were paying attention, but we're gonna get that later. Because we have to go... This, Dry Rock Caverns has like 3 different sections in it. In each section you have to run to the end and then run back out. So we're gonna get that other Yorble on the way back out.
Let's find our way back out of here. We should remember to look for Yorbles.
One weird thing about this game is once you have this light on you, you actually can't roll anymore. Not really sure why that is, but if I tried to roll right now, I would just like stop in place. I would do the roll, but I wouldn't move anywhere, so it would just waste time. Oh, I completely missed that. There we go. I need to make sure that I have over 50 mana by the time I leave Caverns. It's very important. Remember how I said earlier that the mana gets down to be pretty efficiently used in this game? Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. I need to make sure that I have at least 50 mana for Sun Temple. Oh yeah, this level also has these bat nurbles, which are the most obnoxious thing in any video game ever. It may seem like the nurbles jump around randomly and stuff, but oh no. These bat nurbles are completely unpredictable as far as I can tell. Like, I never know where they're going to be going, and it's not fun. Oh, I missed that Yorble. It's actually okay if I die here. That is if I actually die. Because I'm going to respawn up on that platform anyways. So now I'm just going to do some... Oh. As I was saying, now I'm just going to do some completely blind jumps and hope that I don't miss them. I shouldn't miss them. I know where the Wait, what happened that time? Oh, I think I was too far away from this light. That was weird. Yeah, if you get too far away from the light, the game will actually just kill you. And I guess when I died there, that put the light a little bit further back than it usually is, so I got too far ahead of it. I was going too fast. As I said, Caverns is not an easy level at all. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever gone through it deathless. It's not easy. Ah, that was dumb. I've died a lot too, so now I'm kind of running low on mana, which I don't really want to do. Kind of want more mana. So I'm kind of trying to conserve my crazy feet usage a little bit. Yeah, this has not been a very good cavern so far. So I'm just gonna kind of want to pay attention to my mana now. So now, if you remember, back with Mountaintop... Oh, that was dumb. Alright, now I'm gonna have to go... Oh wait, no, I can still do this. These rams, you kind of have to manipulate them sometimes, because they do some weird stuff. We're gonna walk into this wall again. But this time, we're gonna do it so that we can get into the Sun Temple early. Because as we did with Mountaintop North, we can also clip into this endgame level early too. So, we're gonna do that. Oh, this clip's kind of weird though. Alright, I made it. There we go. Now we're in Sun Temple. This is probably the most difficult level in the game.
The Sun Temple's been here for way longer than I can remember. Many of its secrets have been lost.
I'm gonna want to preserve my mana a little bit. I don't need to preserve it too much, but... Gotta kill these 3 nurbles to lower this platform. As you can see, I'm like making up more mana than I'm using, so it's fine here. The reason I need 50 mana though is that the Summon Melon Juju power-up costs 50 mana, and I'm gonna want to use it in the room coming up here. Because using it in a room coming up here lets me clip through a wall, and so I don't have to go back and forth through this room a bunch of times. That was an explosive Nurgle, they're pretty cool. So this room you like have to keep going back and forth and kill a bunch of different waves of enemies. Oops. That is not what I wanted to do. So now we have 2 mana. Now we're gonna throw hover up here, grab that wall, and clip through that section. Alright, and now our mana is pretty much set for the rest of the game. You don't have to worry about it that much. However, coming up is one of my favorite rooms in the game. I like to call it the buzzer room. I'll see if you can figure out why.
You need more mana to use this juju power. Maybe there are some feathers nearby? You need more mana to use this juju power. Maybe there are some feathers nearby?
Has anyone managed to figure out why it's called the buzzer room yet?
You need more mana to use this juju power. Maybe
It's a pretty fun room. Ooh, that was dumb. Guess we just get to spend more time in the buzzer room.
You need more mana to use this juju power. Maybe there are some feathers nearby?
Well, I almost didn't grab that because rope physics are cool.
You need more mana to use this juju power. Maybe there are some feathers nearby? You need more mana to use this juju power. Maybe there are some feathers nearby?
So that was kind of a little wonky, but we made it through. Right here, just gotta jump through those guys. You're supposed to kill all of these giant Nurbles in order to open this door. But with the power of throw hovering, you can just skip that whole room. Same goes for this room. You're supposed to do a bunch of stuff here. But who wants to do stuff, am I right? Alright, so coming up is a skip I like to call the YOLO jump, because I only get one chance to do this jump.
Maybe there are some feathers nearby? You need more
Alright.
mana to use this juju power. Maybe there are some feathers
No.
nearby?
That's one of those instances where if throw hovering was more consistent, it would help save time. Because if I can manage to jump across that gap,
Mana to use this juju power.
it would save about 40 or I think it's 47 seconds. But the problem is throw hovering is not consistent at all, and jumping over an open gap like that is not something you can be guaranteed to get. And so doing it multiple times isn't really worth it. So I just do it. I just go for it once, just to see if I can get it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's whatever. So now there's a bunch of puzzles here too. All are revolved around killing as many enemies as possible. You can actually skip doing one section of that there though. Whoop.
You need more mana to use this juju power. Maybe there are some feathers nearby?
This is actually the hardest room in the game.
You need more mana to
There's just a ton of combat here, a ton of enemies everywhere. We have to kill all of the giant Nurbles in this level, or in this room.
You need more
That
mana
Nurble's just having a good time. You can use these oil things on the ground. I don't think I've explained this yet. These oil things, when they touch the sun tiles, they'll actually explode. Oop, that's not good. Gonna go like that, and just hit that guy. Don't forget that Yorble. It's very easy to forget that one in the midst of all this fighting. Whoops. Alright, that was good. And now we've got the third Pins and Needles boss fight. This one's pretty interesting. There's a lot of RNG in this fight. So it's up to me to like be focusing really hard, trying to make sure that I can do this as quickly as possible. Alright, so this guy, he got a green one. So if I can get him to hit himself... Okay, no, I did not. Okay, hit himself once. I don't really want these blue ones because they only have one shot, and if it misses, it's like, whoa, what was the point of that? So I'm just gonna use those up. I like it when the enemy gets the blue shots though, because once an enemy, or once Pins or Needles picks up one of these power-ups, they will just lock onto you and constantly try to hit you. Yeah, this first phase isn't going so well. These red ones are the optimal ones you want, because you can do that. They shoot like 3 shots out in a line. So you can get like a nice meat shot on them if you try hard enough. If you aim. This fight is all about just like being as efficient as you can. It's really bad when they get the yellow ones because then you can't hit them for a really long time. Oh, I missed that last shot. You also can't just spam B in order to hit them a bunch of times really quickly, because they do have like an invincibility period where they can't get hit. Can I get a green one? Alright, this works. Whoops. Oh no. I got knocked up into the air when I shot it, so it stayed that way. Alright, now I have to fight both of them at the same time. And sometimes it's possible to get them to hit each other, which is pretty cool when it happens. There we go, I just got 2 nice meat shots on him. I'm gonna get that just to... Alright, there's no way I could get him to hit a wall in time. Now they're gonna hit each other. Watch this. I can get him to hit himself by doing this. Not bad.
Now it's Moonstone time.
That wasn't too bad of a fight.
Yes, you collected a Moonstone.
You can actually still control this Phoenix.
Romance for you.
Maybe. Maybe you got too far away, actually. But yeah, that was Sun Temple. That didn't go too bad, which was nice. But now again, just, oops. That's... Do not fall there, that's not a good place to fall. Now I gotta run back up. Ooh. But yeah, now I'm just back to getting more Yorbles. Although I'm pretty close to finish with the Orbles now. And eventually I'm gonna start moving towards getting Locke's Spirit. Which, that's just an adventure all on its own. So the route for this level has changed quite a bit too recently. I originally used to get all of the Orbles in Dry Rock and then I'd go to Sun Temple. But it was actually found to be a bit faster to get half of them first and then half of them after. This next area you're actually supposed to use an animal called the emu, as you can tell by that sign. Because the emu can like run faster and jump further than Tat can. So there's like a bunch of gaps that the emu needs to jump across and, you know, all those things. But the emus are really hard to control, and we'd have to break that gate over there to get it. So we're just gonna, you know, just do it ourselves. We can make these gaps with some nice triple jumps. That's the Fire Acorns power-up. That makes it so the acorns you shoot actually do damage, but that's not useful for me at all, so I'm not gonna get it. Alright, now we're done with Dry Rock. It's actually time to go to that one level that I didn't go to earlier. Remember how I said there's actually 12 plants in the game? The next level I'm going to actually contains the last 3, but I'm not going there for plants. I'm actually going there for Yorbles. But I'm only going to get 2 Yorbles there, because the Yorbles are really spread apart. The main reason I'm going here, though, is because this is where the final Moonstone level is located, in Chicken Island. However, I can't actually get into that level yet, because for some reason, the trigger for activating, the trigger for loading that level doesn't exist until you have all the Yorbles, which is weird. Like, that doesn't happen for the other 2 levels, but it does for that one. Okay, thanks Milk. Thanks for the host too. But yeah. So we're really only going to be here for 2 Yorbles, because the rest are too spread apart to get. They would waste too much time. So just jump up here. There's one Yorble down there, but in order to get back from picking that one up, you have to swim around a bunch of stuff, and it wastes a lot of time. So now we're just gonna warp back. We're there for like 2 seconds. Hey, Ignite. But now it's time for just the greatest level in the game, not gonna lie. But yeah. So now we're back in Burial Grounds. We're not here for Yorbles though. We're actually here to clip through that wall and go on to the next level. The way you're supposed to go through that is yet again watching another Tiki cutscene, but we're just gonna skip all those. We don't need those. So we're just gonna walk around instead. So here's Mummy Tombs. Not gonna lie, this level is pretty boring. It's basically just 4 really long escort missions. However, there's something kind of interesting about this level that's pretty different from the rest of the levels in that this level, the only reason we're here is actually just to get to the next level. Usually when we go to a level it's because, oh yeah, there's lots of Yorbles in here, or, you know, we may as well go here because we need plants, or, you know, some reason like that. This one, no. We're just here because in order to get to the spirit world, which is where Locke's spirit is, we need to go through mummy tombs. So technically with this one, it would be faster to just skip this entire level, because the Yorbles are kind of spread apart, so they're not very fast to get them, so there's no point really in doing that. But this level, the only reason, or well, the only thing we need to do in this level is beat it, basically. And with almost every other level in the game, it would be pretty easy to just skip to the end of the level, because there's lots of ways to do that. But with this one, it's a bit different. Because the only way to exit this level is if you get all 4 of these mummies into the center area, and once all 4 mummies are there, the trigger to enter the next level activates. But, well, so it might seem like, well, yeah, you have to get all 4 mummies then, because otherwise the trigger doesn't activate. But I don't like this level. Actually, let me... Okay, that's a really precise trick there. I just made the mummy walk on air. No big deal. But I don't like this level. And I have tried very, very hard to skip this level. And you know what? I almost did it. Like, I got very, 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 very close to being able to skip like 3/4 of this level. Because I just did 1/4 of it right there. All that time was just 1/4 of one of the escort missions out of 4. I've gotten so close to being able to skip this because one day, I guess it's story time, huh? Because, I mean, what else am I going to talk about in this level? One day, though, I actually realized it was possible to clip inside of the last tomb before going in all the other ones, because normally the tombs are blocked off by a door and you can't get in. But I actually figured out it's possible to skip into the 4th tomb. And I was like, whoa, I can get into this 4th tomb. I wonder what would happen if I just like got the last mummy out and put him on the pedestal. Would that activate the end of would that trigger the exit of this level? So I spent, I don't remember what it was it 6 months or something, trying to figure out how to skip this level? Because there were a lot of problems, because I could clip into that first tomb, right? But the thing is, that door was still there, so I couldn't get back out. And also the mummy I couldn't get out either, because the mummy was stuck inside since the door was there. So I could get in, but I couldn't get back out. Also, this is gonna be annoying. That Nurble just wanted to ruin the party, I guess. Oh my god, this is not gonna... Oh! Okay. Sorry, that Nurble, if that Nurble jumps onto that seesaw, it'll also come flying over here. Which, you don't want that. That's not a fun thing, because then you have to deal with that Nurble. But anyways. Where was I? Yeah, I could get into the 4th tomb, but I could not get back out. So I spent a really long time trying to figure out how to get back out, and eventually I actually found this trick called super jumping. It's not as glamorous as it sounds. If you recall, there's actually these bouncy pads occasionally spread throughout the game, and I realized that if you stand on a bouncy pad and you walk off of it without jumping, which is not a simple thing to do, it requires some precise movement, but if you can manage to get off of a bouncy pad without leaving the ground, you can walk around and stuff, but the game will still think you're on the bouncy pad until you jump. So what you can actually do is you can preserve the extra height. Oh my god, these Nurbles. These Nurbles are going insane right now. But you can preserve the extra height from your jump on a bouncy pad, and I could actually carry it to the entrance of the tomb, and with that extra height, I could actually jump up, grab the top of the door, and clip back out. And I was like, oh, when that happened, I was like, oh my god, I can clip back out. So I can get in and get back out easily. That's really nice. So I was just a little bit closer. But there was still the problem of the mummy can't get back out. Because the mummy can't exactly jump and grab on ledges and stuff, so how am I supposed to get the mummy out? That one also took a really long time to figure out. But eventually I found out that when Tak or a mummy reload from a save file, they actually don't have collision with objects until the level completely loads. And normally for Tak, that's not a problem at all, because like Tak loads at certain checkpoints, which he's never interacting with an object on those checkpoints, so there's no problem with that happening. So normally that doesn't affect Tak. However, the thing with mummies is that whenever you save and reload, they warp back, or they load at exactly the point you saved them at. And so, where was I going with this? If I could manage to, like, if the mummy were to be on top of an object, and I saved and reloaded, the mummy would actually clip inside of that object when I reloaded the save file. Which, you might not think that's all that useful, but the thing about the fourth tomb is that the mummy's not supposed to die in the fourth tomb. Like, in all these previous tombs, there's all these giant open pits and stuff, but none of those exist in the fourth tomb. There's no way that the mummy's supposed to actually die, which means that they didn't really put in any checkpoints for the mummy, like this thing. Normally when the mummy dies, it respawns at those checkpoints. They didn't put any of those in the fourth tomb. So, I wanted to figure out a way to kill that fourth mummy, so that I could see if I could manipulate it to loading wherever I wanted it to, as in outside of the tomb. One thing I did know is that the bouncy pads, normally like they're spread out across like a pit, and you're not supposed to be under that pit because there's a bouncy pad above it, but if you can manage to get underneath that bouncy pad, and you fall into the pit, there's actually a kill plane at the bottom of those pits. So, and those webs, or the bouncy pads, they're considered objects. So if I managed to make a save while a mummy was standing on a web, it would actually reload, and it would fall through the web, hit the kill plane, and it would die. Oh my god, the mummy got hit again. Are you serious? This is the third time the mummy's got hit by a Nurble. That's insane. But at that point, I realized it was possible to kill the mummy in the fourth tomb. But I couldn't really do anything with that, because even if the mummy died, it actually did have a safety checkpoint that in case it somehow did manage to die, it would just reload there. But one really weird thing I figured out about the mummies is that if you save and reload while the mummies are respawning, it actually causes the mummies to kind of go into a similar effect that Tak was in at the beginning of this game, where it does not collide with walls or objects, but it still collides with the ground. In fact, it doesn't even collide with Tak anymore. But just think about that for a second. The mummy no longer collides with objects. The mummy can walk through the door. So once I figured that out, I realized, wait a minute. I can now get Tak into the fourth tomb, get Tak out of the fourth tomb, and get the mummy out of the fourth tomb. Like, that must be it, right? I did it. I got the fourth tomb. I got the fourth mummy out of the fourth tomb. But there was still a problem. The mummy was invisible and couldn't collide with objects or anything. So when I put the mummy onto this pedestal, nothing happened, because he didn't interact with it. So I had to figure out a way to kill the mummy again in order to make it respawn correctly. And that was not easy to do. Long story short, I essentially figured out a way to make... It's a long story. I had to bring the mummy into the first tomb, but there was like a ledge that he couldn't walk over, so I had to basically fly out of bounds. Don't worry about how I did that, but I just had to just fly out of bounds to make the mummy walk towards me and run up a cliff, and This is the super jump glitch, by the way. Oh, wait, I didn't get it. Hold on. That should be it. No. This should be it. No. Come on. Ignite's worried about how I did that. There we go. Alright, so essentially, I guess I should explain it. The way that I flew. So you remember that throw hovering thing that I was doing earlier? Where I can fly, but it's not consistent at all? I actually lied. It is possible for it to become 100% consistent and not care if you drop the inputs ever. Oops, but that requires you to jump off of a bouncy pad. If you do throw hovering after jumping off a bouncy pad, you can fly. Like, there's no doubt, there's no question, you can just fly wherever you want to, whenever you want to. The only problem is that bouncy pads only exist in 2 levels, this level and Tax Village. So, it's not useful anywhere really, sadly. But, doing that, I was able to make Tack fly out of bounds, make the mummy walk towards a certain angle that let him run up a slope thing, and then the mummy was able to fall off a pit, die. The mummy respawned with full collision, everything. It was perfect. The glitch was finally going to work. I was finally going to be able to skip all of Mummy Tombs, except it just didn't work. Because this game is programmed in a way that you need to get all 4 mummies. It doesn't matter if you get the last mummy there. You still have to get the other 3. And I was so mad when that happened. Like, when I figured out that was how it worked, I was mad. Because that just meant that 4th tomb skip was never possible. And in fact, if you do put the 4th mummy down before the other 3, you actually soft lock the game. You cannot beat the game anymore, which is pretty sick. But yeah, that's a really long-winded explanation of why 4th tomb skip doesn't work and why we have to do this entire long level every single time. Maybe you only need 2 of them? Well, the problem with that is,
Okay, that's all the Yorbles here. We should try somewhere else.
you can't clip into any of the other tombs except for the 4th one. Also, I should mention, the time that it takes to skip all of that stuff, it really would only end up saving a couple of minutes then. Because all of that setup in order to get the mummy to clip out of the tomb, that takes a lot of time. So yeah, even if it was only 1 and 4, it's still, I think that would actually end up being slower than just getting all 4 of them. Because it actually does take quite a while to clip into the 4th tomb and get the mummy out. But it would sure be a lot more entertaining than doing this. But anyways, finally done with Mummy Tombs. Oh man. Now it's time for the run to pick back up again.
I've heard of this place.
Yeah, it's disappointing that 4th tomb skip doesn't work, but anyways, let's move on.
We'll have to figure it out as we go.
This is Spirit World.
Look, I think
This is actually where Locke's spirit is located, so that's the whole reason this level is the whole reason we did Mummy Tombs, otherwise we just wouldn't do that mess. Oh man, I need like a glass of water after that story or something.
hey, Tack, look.
That was a long one.
If we follow it, it might help us on our journey.
The thing about this level is that you got these like
Spirit
vases you gotta break to activate these spirit gate things, and then once you activate those you can see these platforms and run across them. This level is pretty simple though. We're just here to get the last remaining Yorbles and Locke's spirit. And once we're done with that, we're almost done with the game.
It looks to me like that orangutan only exists in spirit form too. Maybe he can help us get where we want to go.
These orangutans, sometimes you have to wait for them. And it's actually possible for them to take too long and then the cycle of the spirit gate runs out, so you have to do it again. By the way, this rock doesn't actually exist. It's pretty cool. Those explosive nurbles actually don't affect you when you're pulling yourself up from a ledge, because you're actually invincible when you do that, so you can just like take the explosion straight to the face and be totally fine. Kinda want to lure this explosive nurble so he doesn't bother me later. We don't actually want to activate this warp point, we just want to use it to jump up here. Because we need these 3 different balloons to help that guy who we kind of skipped his cutscene that introduces him. That's dead Juju. He wants balloons, I guess. So we're gonna go and get his balloons for him. We're gonna shoot this orangutan to force it to pull this tree down in time, otherwise it's possible the orangutan won't. Like I said, lots of little manipulations like that in this game.
When in doubt, take the stick out.
Good advice from Tack there. It's always useful.
You can float really far with these things. Only one balloon left.
Alright, there's the second balloon. Now it's time for the last one. These balloons are pretty simple to get. It's actually possible to duplicate one of these balloons, and you can duplicate it as many times as you want. You have to use something called the zombie glitch, which essentially you have to pause on the same frame that you die, and then save and reload, and you'll respawn with 0 health, but you'll still be alive. And for some reason doing that and picking up a balloon causes the balloon to duplicate itself.
Let's take it back to
And if you actually bring 4 balloons to this party boy thing, as Flora says, the game actually freezes, so don't do that. But duplicating those balloons is actually useful for staffless, beating this game without the staff.
help you if you got in the
Because there's a vase later on that you normally need the staff to shoot at. But if you have a balloon, you can actually float over to the vase and then break the vase with the balloon itself. It's weird. Ugh. But yeah, there's that section. Spirit World's just kind of made up of a bunch of little islands like this. And up here is the vase that I was talking about you need the staff for. Oh, I missed it. There we go. What? I missed it again. How did that happen? There we go. Oops. That nurble can sometimes explode you off the cliff. Alright, and now while that little vase thing is floating towards the spirit gate, we're just going to grab that Yorwol so we can be efficient.
So wait, this spirit vent is active now. Jump in and see what happens.
Jump over that ram, because rams are cool. They're well programmed. Whoop, break the vase. Jump around this nurble. Whoops. Now here we gotta go through another orangutan. This one can take too long. It should be fine though. Yeah. That spirit gate is only active for a few seconds, so sometimes that orangutan can take too long for it to work. Whoops. And that's the last spirit vase we need to break. And then coming up is the 100th Yorwol. Just in time for the lock spirit.
Okay, that's all the Yorbles here. We should try somewhere else now.
Flora doesn't realize that we got all 100 Yorwol's, I guess. Sometimes she says, wow, you got all 100, and sometimes she's like, alright, let's go find some more. She's not very decisive about how many we need. Now this part we need to kill all 3 of these nurbles.
Here are these Nurbles. I bet we can reach Lock's spirit
That was really lucky. That green Nurble thing will turn anything into a small Nurble, which, if you can imagine, helps speed this fight up quite a lot. I want to bring these two guys closer. Oops. Okay, this is not a good fight. Messed that up a bit. Okay, for some reason this Nurble is getting... This Nurble does not want to do his attack. Or her attack, I guess. Oh my god. Yeah, one time someone was doing this part and one of the Nurbles just... They didn't kill the Nurble, but the fight still ended. I'm not really sure what happened. I'll have to look into that at some point, but I forgot about that. But now we're gonna go up here and get Locke's spirit up here, which is in this balloon.
I'm so glad you're here. I know, Locke. I'm gonna take you back to Jaboba, and he's gonna put you back. Yeah. But first, I got this terrible itch.
Can you scratch my head?
We don't have time. Come on, I can't reach it. Oh, that's good.
Some of these cutscenes in this game are just top notch.
Oh, that's good. Oh, little one. Little one. Okay, but we gotta go.
Who's making all that racket?
Oh no, it's Slaylock!
It's Jaboba's errand boy and the great warrior of legend.
Mr. Balloon Head. Alright, so now Slaylock's like, whoa, look at that, it's a really difficult hedge maze with spikes! And so you don't want to pop the balloon, so it's really hard. This is probably one of the harder sections of the game, getting through this spiky hedge maze without popping the balloon. It's really difficult to do. Like, this is probably one part that, like, casual players got stuck on a lot. It's definitely a really hard section of the game. It's not, there's no way to cheese it at all. It's totally difficult. And we're done. So yeah, that was the hedge maze. Pretty hard thing. Alright, but now we have all 100 Yorbles and Locke's spirit, so now we need to go to talk to Jaboba. But funny enough, when you leave Spirit World, you're right next to Jaboba's hut. So we can just go right in and talk to him. And now we can finally go to Chicken Temples to get the last Moonstone. And actually, one interesting thing about getting all 100 Yorbles is you get the Amulet of the Champion. Which, whenever you're at full health, it basically gives you the effect of Crazy Feet, except you don't have to hold the button down, and you don't use any mana. So it's pretty useful. It's not any faster than using Crazy Feet, but you don't have to use any mana for it, so it's nice. Oh, okay, made it. Flora thinks that we just came from burial grounds, I guess. It is pretty creepy, right, Flora? Actually, I guess technically we did just come from burial grounds. But she's supposed to say that way at the beginning of the game when you actually do come from the burial grounds. Now you're supposed to, like, hit a gong to activate that door opening, but the trigger for entering the level is actually slightly outside the door, so you can just walk right up into it without hitting the gong. So you actually technically don't use the Amulet of the Champion at all for its intended purpose. Now here's Chicken Temple. For anyone who casually played this game, I'm sure that this level probably made you just get stuck and you stopped playing at this level. Because I will admit, this is an awful level. It is not fun at all. However, if you're speedrunning it, it's actually one of the fastest and easiest levels in the game. So yeah. You only actually have to do half of the levels, or half of the puzzles in this level. you can just skip the second half of the puzzles. Which, you know, that's when they actually start becoming hard.
I wonder what that would look like in this place.
You can just jump around those guards. These guards are supposed to, like, attack you whenever they see you, but they are completely blind, basically. So they cannot see Tack unless he's, like, standing right in front of them. Also, when you have these eggs, these chickens, like, try to hit you and make you drop it. They're pretty easy to dodge, though. Except for in the boss fight, they're not so easy to dodge then. And they can actually cause you to waste a lot of time. They shouldn't be too much of a problem, though. I can usually take care of them. Because usually the fastest way you're ever going to fight the next boss fight is you're going to 2-cycle it. Okay, come on, chicken. These chickens need to go away because I need to get item storage off of this egg. Not for throw hovering, but just so that I can climb this rope while still holding the egg. Because normally you can't do that. You just drop the egg. And so you'd like actually have to do the puzzle otherwise. Alright, and that was actually the last puzzle that we have to do. Normally there's 4 more puzzles. However, you don't have to do any of them. Because you can just do summon melon, get item storage, and throw hover up here. And skip this whole section. And now we're on the Chicken Temple boss fight.
Oh no.
Which I am gonna need to focus on.
What those 2 idiots up to
This is not an easy boss fight, so I'm just gonna focus a bit. Not gonna talk too much during it. If I want to 2-cycle this, I need to go fast. And I need to pay a lot of attention to the game. Getting hit by that will kill you and make you start the fight over again. Ah, he's going for the bottom one, okay. Where'd the chicken land? I don't think it's anywhere near me.
Hey, Tack, look up there. I've been watching.
Yo! Gonna put it there. Oh, he's going for that one. Are you serious? Alright, this is gonna be a lot harder. It's possible that I might get screwed over here. Depending on where that chicken landed. Yep. Yep, I got screwed over because of these chickens. Alright. That sucks. The chickens forced me to drop the egg, so I couldn't put that down in time. Oh well. That loses like 30 seconds. Which one are they going for? I think this one. See, I lost out on like 30 seconds there because that chicken had, well, there was just a lot of stuff that went wrong that made it so I pretty much couldn't do that in time.
Glowstone. Pins and needles are no match for you.
Normally I'd be able to get that all in one cycle, but I had to wait an extra one. Oh well though. That still went pretty well for what it was. But now we have all of the moonstones, all of everything that we need. So now it's time for the final boss. So we're just gonna warp back to Tax Island, Tax Village, whatever it's called. And we gotta go talk to Jabulba. So yeah, the final boss fight, Tech is kind of notorious for having awful final boss fights. Just the Tech series in general. The boss fights are always really long, really complex, and if you die at all during it, you have to start the whole thing over. I don't know what it is, but Tech game just does not have good final boss fights. In this one, there is a small skip we can do in it, but mostly just have to do the whole thing normally.
I've been telling you a little about each place we visited.
Thankfully, though, they never designed the boss fights around like actually just straight up fighting the bosses,
This place.
because combat in this game just isn't that good. So thankfully, most of the boss fights are pretty interesting, like pretty different.
You simply do not possess the power.
Bring it on.
So in this first section, we have to, well, basically in the entire fight, there's 3 sections, and in each one you have to break all of these plants. I missed this plant somehow. Alright. And now that we killed all the plants, he's gonna turn us into a chicken, I guess. And we gotta jump over here. Now, I can actually skip this next phase. If I do this, get item storage, throw hover over this plant. Normally he's gonna, like, once we would finish that phase, we would turn into a rhino and, like, break all these down and stuff. But we can actually skip that by doing that, by getting the throw hovering. And now, these plants have force fields around them, so we gotta make Tlaylock break the force fields and, you know, general boss fight stuff. Pretty straightforward. Like I said earlier though, if I die at any point, I have to start the entire fight over again. It's just great. Dying definitely isn't a huge issue though. Whoops. Oh wait, never mind. Thought I accidentally used Summon Melon, but I didn't, so we're good. Here's the last plant, though.
Fantastic. Now it should be a piece of cake.
This music is jamming, not gonna lie.
That's strange.
Alright. Now, Flora's a great idea as an orangutan is to just throw me into the giant plant. I'm just gonna shoot that, because why not? Like, this is a good idea, right? Just throwing me into this giant, evil-looking plant. Somehow it ends up working, though. And now I can just do this. Where is he gonna go? Over there? Whoops, that's the wrong sheep. That sheep just ran in front of me. Here he is. So yeah, that turns Tlaylock into a sheep, I guess. And that was the end of the game. I split late because I wasn't expecting it, but yeah. So there's the run.